Hi, I'm Owen, the host of the Australian Finance Podcast. This podcast is proudly sponsored by BetaShares, one of the leading providers of ETFs here in Australia. Serving thousands of financial advisors and over 1 million investors, BetaShares manages tens of billions of dollars on behalf of investors right across the country. I'm proud to partner with BetaShares on the Australian Finance Podcast, Australia's premier financial podcast, because there is great alignment in the long-term philosophy shared by both businesses. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Australian Finance Podcast.
Welcome to this episode of the Australian Finance Podcast. I'm Gemma Mitchell, and today we are doing one of our Wednesday episodes that we like to keep really short, sharp, shiny. We try to keep these episodes under 10, maybe 15 minutes, and they're designed to just keep you going throughout the week between our other two episodes that come out. So Mondays, we do a longer episode that generally goes for about an hour, and we'll interview guests and things. And on a Friday, Owen and I do a Q&A session where we answer the questions that you get to send in as listeners every single week. So in today's podcast player notes, you'll see the link for those sessions. So if you have a question that you want answered on a Friday show, please send it through via the link in your podcast player. But let's get into this short episode. So today, I'm actually breaking this down over 2 weeks. So today we are going to be talking about the first 6 steps in my book, The Money Reset. Now, you can buy the book and dive into this in a lot more detail. You could listen to the audiobook version, and depending on what memberships you've got, like subscriptions, if you're with Spotify, for example, you might actually be able to get that for free. So lots of ways for you to dive into this even more. But even if you're not going to read the book, this will just give you some practical tips that I think is where you need to start if you feel like your money needs a bit of a reset. And this is the perfect time of year to be doing it because we all get a little bit motivated in January. So start early. And if your money needs a bit of a reset, this is what is designed to give you a bit of a kickstart. So let's dive into the first 6 steps. So step number 1 in the book is called taking stock. And this is like where you need to get really, really clear on where you're at. So yes, it's about reflection and accepting where you're at, but it's about getting excited about what the starting line is and knowing what you have to work with. So with this section is not just about numbers and net worth. It's about your emotional, financial, and practical stock take, where you're at right now, getting really, really honest with yourself. So reflection and acknowledgement is really, really important. So we go through some exercises in it. But what I think is key is that I think everybody should be tracking their net worth at least once a year. Now, maybe for your situation, that might work better monthly or quarterly or half yearly, but I think at least once a year we need to do this. So your net worth is all of the things you own and all of the things you owe. So loans, debts, that type of stuff. So you calculate all your assets and you calculate all your liabilities, all the things that you owe, and you subtract that from each other. That will give you your net worth. Now, depending on your situation, like if you've gone through a divorce, like I recently have, this might be a really different situation to what you were at previously, and that can be really, really hard. But we want to reframe this is us taking control and being really aware of our situation and getting excited about the starting line. So tracking your net worth means that you can see the needle moving. You know, a lot of the time we get so focused on, well, the mortgage doesn't feel like it's moving, or my bank account has just gone down significantly, but we're not looking at all of the other things, the whole pie. And that might be your superannuation, if you have property, different kind of things. So tracking your net worth at least once a year is very, very important. And that is step 1 in the money reset. Step 2 is setting up your safety net. So I find that when we talk about safety nets in finance, we automatically default to an emergency fund. And I think that's really, really important. That is a foundation that we absolutely need. But there is so much more that needs to be in your safety net than just that. So absolutely get your emergency fund nailed, but we need to also look at other things. So I call it the village in the book. These are the people around you that are your support network. So they might be mentors, cheerleaders, accountability partners, or even professionals like financial advisors and accountants and things. So your village is made up of a heap of different people. You know, it's probably not going to get everybody you need in your support network to, one person, find that in one person. So it's about knowing who you need in your village and how they work, how they support you. So getting very, very clear on that, and also understanding that at some point in your life and your financial journey, those people may need to change. It's okay to outgrow those people. So this section is all about, yes, what do you need in an emergency fund, but do you have the right people around you, and how do you identify if they're helping or hindering? And then I also go through what I call the sleep at night test, and that is how we assess if we're making decisions because we're scared, they're uncomfortable, or they're just not right for us. So anytime you're going to make a decision, whether it's on investing, spending money, different things, you need to kind of stop and think, how do I feel about this? Is this the outcome that I want? And how I get people to do that is I have a series of questions in the book that I'm like, you want to decide on what are the questions, say you have 3 that you ask yourself every time that you're going to make a big, uncomfortable decision. And it's so that you can keep moving forwards and just have that self-check-in and make sure that you're doing things that align with you, but are also maybe pushing you out of your comfort zone, which is totally fine. So your safety net around you is so much more than just an emergency fund. Step 3 is making over your money mindset. You will hear us talk about mindset so often in every aspect of finance. It is so, so crucial. And I don't think people realize the impact it actually has on our ability to make decisions and progress with our finances. It can really hold us back. So what we need to be doing is really acknowledging that, we want you. So one task that you could do, even if you're not going to read the book, is just start thinking about, is there any patterns or habits that you do with money, and are they helping or hindering? So there's things that we do that we can see as good with money, but they could actually be holding us back. One of those is, for example, say you are saving a certain amount of money in your bank account each week, each payday, but you're constantly dipping back into that. Your money mindset, so subconsciously what's likely happening is every time you have to draw back out from that account, your brain's like, I'm not good with money, I can't save. All these subconscious kind of messages come out. Whereas if you were to do the opposite, so change the pattern, change the behavior, potentially you save a little bit less, set the bar a little bit lower, but at the end of the pay cycle, maybe you can actually add extra to it. So you can add extra $20, $50, whatever. And that's a really positive behavior that reinforces that you're good with money, you're doing good things, that you're making progress, rather than setting the bar too high. That's something that's not realistic, it's not sustainable, and then having those negative thoughts come into our head. So money mindset is so, so important. And if you're in a relationship, how you deal, feel, think about money is going to be completely different. And that's where communication is just so, so important. Step 4 in the money reset is resetting your goals. Now, this is massive. People should be doing this at any stage, but if you've just had a big life change, maybe it's work, your career, maybe you lost a partner, maybe you've gone through a divorce, or whatever it is, if there's been a major shift, making sure that you're reassessing your goals is so, so important. So what that means is, a lot of the time we have goals throughout our life, financial, they might be lifestyle goals, whatever they are. But a lot of the time we're just going through the motions of what we expect, or maybe we've outgrown that goal and we haven't let it go. So I think it's so important for us to check in with ourselves and work out if these goals we think are our goals still are. And you might go through this process, really stripping back and going, why is this important to me? And how will I feel if this happens? And what is this to me? If you go through that process and you still have the same goals, that's absolutely amazing. And that's a really healthy thing to do, is just have these check-ins. So you might have goals previously that don't suit the new lifestyle or the new life that you're trying to create for yourself, or realistically, they might actually just feel really unachievable. So getting back to basics, stripping it back and just making sure these are your goals is so important. And then I also talk about in the book, and I think this is key and where I probably contradict myself a bit. So goals are so important. It gives us an anchor to what we work towards. But if you're going through a hard time and you're needing to reset your money and reset your life, get things back on track, It's okay not to have really big, audacious goals and really clear goals on what you're trying to achieve in the next 5-10 years. If you've gone through a divorce or lost your job or had a health scare, potentially you don't know what life looks like in a month, let alone a year or 10 years. So we don't always have to have huge, audacious goals, but maybe your goal is that you want to change one aspect of your finances. It might be to not panic when you see a bill come into your inbox. Might be to be able to pay a bill on time each time. So we can have these small goals. We don't always have to have these big ones. The most important thing is we're doing everything in our capacity to move forwards and improve our situation. So I dive a lot more into that in the book, but reassessing your goals, making sure they are actually your goals is crucial. But also if you're feeling a bit lost and don't have goals, try to think of just the small changes, and you don't have to be planning these huge audacious goals. Step 5 in the money reset is budgeting for the new you. Now, I know that the word budget gives people the ick. Some people love it like me and some people absolutely hate it, but you can call it whatever you want. A budget is literally just a plan for your money. It's telling your money where to go rather than wondering where it went. Now, you might have the best budget in the world on paper or spreadsheet or whatever it is, but you need the systems that can support it. So if you have different buckets, different bank accounts and things, they need to line up with how you categorize things in your budget. So yes, it's great that you know what your expenses are, you know what's coming in and what's going out, but you also need a system, how you manage your bank accounts, your day-to-day spending and things that support that. And it's not one size fits all. I do have an example in the book, but you need to tweak it. You need to keep trying things until you find what works for your lifestyle. So making sure that you have the system that's actually supporting how you're trying to spend your money is so crucial. So if you've got a budget or you're thinking a budget's not for you, you've tried it before and it hasn't worked, I bet it's the systems, the day-to-day stuff, which card you use, how your bank accounts are set up. That's what's letting you down. So you need to sit with that and go, right, how do I need this to flow? How would it be easier? Do I need a few different bank accounts? Do I just need one that I have access to? All of these different things. So your support system is how you manage your day-to-day money, and that will keep your budget on track. Step 6, last one for this episode. So in the budgeting one, obviously we talk about how you can save money as well, what you can cut out, how you can optimize your spending. And I also talk about having 2 budgets, because if life has thrown you a bit of a curveball, maybe you have actually had to strip a little bit out of your life. And so I talk about having this aspirational budget that maybe when you're in a different position, more money's flowing into your life, you know what you're going to add back in, what those little wants, luxuries might be. So I think that's crucial in having a budget. It's not always about restriction, but if it is in this period in your life, it's good to have an idea on when more money flows in, what am I excited to add back in? So that flows into step 6 really well, because boosting your income is so important. There is only so much you can do to cut your expenses. There is a limit to how much you can cut, unfortunately, but there's no limit on how much you can earn. And people always kind of look at me a bit odd when they hear that. Some people get it, like there's no cap on your earning potential, right? We cap ourselves, but it's only so much that you can cut out of your expenses. You're going to have all of these bills that you really can't cut too much. So let's then focus on income. Income is another lever that you could look at. So you can explore different ways of earning income. That might be returning to paid work, changing employers, asking for a pay rise, upskilling, side hustle. But there are so many different ways that we can go. And it's just about thinking about each one, really thinking about it, not letting our brain default to, no, that won't work. Not letting our brain shut down an idea, actually diving into, well, could it work? How would it work? Do I want it to work? Like, what's the trade-off? Like a side hustle sounds great, but potentially it's going to be a lot of work. And that might not be a trade-off that you're willing to do. So I get people in the book to write down all of the options that they could potentially have to earn more money, and then really dive into them. What's good about that? How could it work? What's the trade-off? Is that worth exploring now, like exploring more? So these are really important things to do. We can't let our brain, which is hardwired to protect us, to just shortcut to a no, it won't work, or a yes, it will. We want to really dive in and see if that idea has legs. But it might be that you need to play the long game. It might be that you do need to upskill, or you need to really step up in certain areas before you can go from a promotion or for a pay rise. So these are things you want to start thinking about well in advance. It might be that you start the work now and that comes to fruition in a year or 2 years or 5 years. But yeah, this is a really important activity that you are looking at all of the ways and not discounting them until you've really dived into them. So that is the first 6 steps in the money reset. Taking stock, we talk about safety nets, we talk about mindset, resetting your goals, or maybe getting the same goals, but just being really clear on them. Budgeting, that it's not a scary word and that it's not about restriction. It's about having a plan for your money. And then we talked about boosting your income and all of the ways that you could be looking at that. So together, they are the first half of the foundations of the money reset. In the next episode, we'll dive into the next ones, which are about debt, investing, property, estate planning, and what I call financial flexibility, which I think is absolutely key to anybody's financial life, is decisions that keep flexibility and assets and a financial plan that keeps a lot of flexibility in your life, so that if a plot twist comes or you've just changed your goals and direction, you can easily adapt your situation and how you're managing your money. So that will be in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Gemma Mitchell, and we will see you on the next one.
Thanks for watching this episode of the podcast. If you want to hear more from us, you can get daily videos and podcasts on Rask's YouTube channel. Or if you want to enroll in a free course on investing, property, business, money, you name it, you can join over 34,000 other students and enroll in a free course on the Rask website. Simply head to www.rask.com.au and follow the prompts. Thanks for watching this Rask podcast.